The skies opened without mercy. Shanxi drowned under torrents of rain as raging waters tore through homes, streets, and fields, leaving chaos and fear in their path. On September 3, 2025, China's Ministry of Water Resources activated a Level 4 emergency flood control response for Shanxi. Meteorologists warned that torrential rains would strike across Wednesday and Thursday, with major rivers expected to rise dangerously and smaller rivers at risk of overflowing beyond warning levels. Local authorities were instructed to monitor rainfall closely, issue early warnings, protect residents from mountain torrents, relocate those in high-risk areas, and safeguard critical water infrastructure. In downtown Yan'an, the first waves swallowed entire neighborhoods. Waist-deep water carved paths through residential zones, sweeping away gardens, courtyards, and storefronts. Residents scrambled to bail water out with buckets, while makeshift rafts and small boats became the only means to reach higher ground. Families clung to rooftops, watching helplessly as water surged around them, waiting for rescue teams. In Wuxi County, emergency crews worked continuously to redirect floodwaters from hospitals, schools, and government buildings. Sandbags were stacked high at entrances, yet in the county square, the flagpole stood submerged, the national flag soaked through and dragging low in the heavy wind. Transportation across the province was paralyzed. Bridges fractured under pressure or collapsed completely, and rural roads vanished beneath the brown, churning water. In Gaxian County, a major highway gave way, with chunks of concrete tumbling into the valley below. Relief convoys carrying essential supplies were forced to halt or turn back as roads became impassable. Electricity and water services failed in dozens of towns. Power lines sagged under debris and eventually went dark, leaving many households without running water and dependent on emergency rations. Repair crews worked non-stop, but unstable ground made every effort slow and dangerous. In Bagi and Shenyang, underground shopping centers and subway systems were among the first to flood. Escalators froze mid-motion as water poured down stairwells. Shoppers rushed for exits while lights flickered and failed. Parking garages filled completely, burying dozens of cars and trucks beneath murky floodwaters. Agriculture suffered severe losses. Farmlands once patterned with neat rows of crops lay submerged under mud and stagnant water. Corn and wheat fields were crushed, and farmers could do little to salvage the harvest. Livestock, cattle, goats, and poultry struggled through knee-deep water as barns filled to the roof. Irrigation systems were destroyed in multiple districts, raising concerns about long-term food shortages. Relief operations were deployed immediately. Bulldozers cleared blocked roads, while soldiers delivered bottled water and emergency supplies to stranded households. Schools, mosques, and community centers became emergency shelters. Volunteers distributed dry clothing, flashlights, and hot meals to families who had lost everything. Authorities continued issuing urgent warnings, and loudspeakers broadcast flood alerts throughout towns and villages. Officials emphasized that saturated and unstable soil left many areas at risk of landslides. Several rivers remained dangerously high. Remote mountain villages were completely isolated, with trails blocked by landslides and accessible only by helicopter. Some residents refused evacuation, choosing to stay behind to guard their homes and livestock. Aid organizations warned that stagnant water could trigger outbreaks of disease if not addressed quickly. The Level 4 emergency response highlighted the severity of the situation. It mobilized authorities, relief teams, and volunteers across the province to protect lives and property. Thousands of households were affected, infrastructure was destroyed, and transportation and agriculture were severely disrupted. While exact figures for casualties and financial losses were still being assessed, the scale of destruction and urgent rescue operations reflected the disaster's gravity. Eyewitnesses described chaotic scenes: families trapped on rooftops, children clinging to parents, and rescue workers wading through waist-deep water to reach stranded residents. Collapsing infrastructure, rising rivers, and saturated soil created hazardous conditions, yet responders pressed forward relentlessly. Entire districts in Yan'an became uninhabitable as floodwaters swept through homes. Streets once full of life had turned into fast-flowing channels of debris.
哎呦我去，看看这大水，哗哗的，这把这阳光房搁这水泥院子全是都土了。这是农村啊，吉安一清河农村，看看这房子吧，全毁了。
In Gaxian and Wuqi counties, collapsed bridges and submerged roads stranded relief convoys and delayed the delivery of food and medical supplies. Communities worked together to reinforce sandbag walls and protect critical buildings, but the sheer force of water often made these efforts futile. Agricultural devastation compounded the human toll. Crops representing months of labor were buried under layers of mud. Farmers dug trenches and attempted to redirect water, but the speed and volume of flooding meant much of the harvest was irretrievably lost. Livestock losses further threatened food security, while damaged irrigation systems suggested the impact could last months. Relief efforts required coordination among multiple agencies. Soldiers, volunteers, and emergency crews worked together to deliver aid, clear debris, and maintain public safety. Evacuation centers provided temporary shelter, and medical teams monitored for waterborne diseases. Despite these efforts, authorities warned that ongoing rain and saturated soil continued to pose landslide risks, particularly in hilly and mountainous regions. Shanxi's experience in September 2025 demonstrates the power of extreme weather and the importance of preparedness. Communities were challenged, infrastructure tested, and large-scale relief operations demanded immediate action. The Level 4 emergency response highlighted the potential severity of flooding and the need for rapid, coordinated measures to save lives and limit destruction. The disaster also raised broader concerns about climate patterns. Experts cautioned that increasingly intense rainfall, potentially worsened by climate change, could make such events more frequent in the future. For now, the focus remained on rescue, recovery, and rebuilding. Residents, emergency responders, and authorities faced immense challenges navigating submerged roads and evacuating isolated villages. Relief teams delivered essentials to trapped households, and volunteers ensured access to food, clothing, and temporary shelter. Every effort required balancing speed and safety, as unstable ground, high water, and blocked roads made operations difficult. For Shanxi, the September 2025 floods were more than a natural disaster. They were a test of endurance, cooperation, and the capacity to rebuild in the face of destruction. The Level 4 emergency response and ongoing relief operations underscored the seriousness of the event and the commitment required to protect lives and restore the province. Stay safe, stay alert, and take every step to stay above the rising waters.